Well, they like you, at least.
Yeah, it was very nice, wasn't it?
Very nice indeed. So...
And the family aren't even here tonight.
So, in sum it up for recent times, today, Brent Magistrate's court, tomorrow, Wembley Stadium. That's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I think they changed the court, because that Brent Magistrate's court is literally across the road, isn't it, from Wembley Arena?
Is it?
I think so.
Oh, right.
I think so, yeah, but they changed that. Yeah, I think I'm going back to Willesden.
There's a lot riding on it, isn't there, really?
Well, what's riding on it, really? I mean, I'm really not allowed to say very much
Well, I know
about
you
it
can't
at
talk
all.
about the specific case.
Yeah,
at
believe
all.
me, I want to. I really, really want to.
Yeah, you can't. It's something to see.
You know me.
But you pleaded guilty.
Yeah, I pleaded guilty because because I did something stupid. I'm fine. I was actually really relieved to take responsibility. It's just a matter of...
What do you mean by that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I'm not trying to paint myself as a saint of any kind, but I really, truly have lived my life the way I was brought up to, kind of the way that my mother looked at things, which is really the worst thing you could do, is to be thoughtless about other people. And, you know, I've pretty much lived by that, and I knew that I had stepped outside of that. And there are things that will be talked about in court that I can't talk about now. Yeah. So, basically, once I realised that I could put my hands up at the same time as not accepting the actual what I was accused of, once I realised I could do that, then I did it as soon as I could, you know.
But I mean, the possibility remains that you might have a situation whereby after the hearing, you might not be able to go to America. It might affect your visa. You've thought about that quite obviously. Well,
you know, we've booked an American tour. It would be really sad. It would be really sad. The tour is booked. I don't think it's been announced yet, but it's sad. It would be very sad if I can't fulfil those. But I'm hoping that won't be the case. You know, I'm just hoping that won't be the case.
I mean, when you look back at this pattern you're talking, this behaviour, is there a sense in which, almost unwittingly in a sense, you kind of caught that kind of attention?
Well, I have to ask myself, don't I?
You do?
I mean, I have to ask myself whether... I know I have a very self-destructive tendency. Since my mother died, I've got to be honest, that's kind of made itself clear in other ways. I think there has to be some element of that in why I was basically not taking care of myself, really. But actually, the reality was that it was a problem that had been going on for years, and you find an alternative to that pain in the form of a prescribed drug. It's very difficult to give that drug up. And sometimes the side effects of those drugs are not good, but you have to actually deal with them, and I think I wasn't dealing with them. So I think ultimately I was being irresponsible by allowing myself a situation that created constant insomnia, basically. I can say that without talking about the drugs. I mean, in all honesty, you know, if they obviously will take away my licence because I've pled guilty.
Well, that's a cert, that's a given.
That's a given, yeah. But in all honesty, I haven't had a licence for the last year or so because I've been stuck in the house, because the houses, there have been people outside the house, cameras outside the house, almost constantly. So you know, really, I've already done a year without.
But there's a quote here which you made. You said, talking after the court case, you said there are people around who would like me to experience a tough time. Mm-hmm. Who are they?
Well, media, really.
Oh, the media?
Media, yeah.
Just the media?
Yeah, I think so. I honestly don't think the public really wants to see me have a tough time. If I had seen the pictures that I saw in the newspapers and read what I read, I would probably feel like, you know, something needed to be done about it. But the truth of the matter is, you know, the media does what the media does, and things are very much not what they seem.
But you know the media is looking for you.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
You see, the thing about you, George, it seems to me, is that, you know, going back to this thing about holding yourself up as a kind of hostage to this kind of situation. I mean, there's another quote from one of the gay publications who said, George Michael's biggest crime is less to do with his trouser activity than his big mouth. Mm-hmm. And you do find it difficult at times to sort of... I mean, you are outspoken.
I think I'm of my generation, only most of my generation have got no balls anymore, basically. You know, I think my generation were taught that it was OK, especially as a musician, to speak your mind. And we're living in a time when it's not okay, and people are trying, in an effort to return to family values, to pretend that some of the things that happened between 1960 and 1985 didn't happen. And one of those things was basically the introduction into the culture of marijuana. And, you know, we could sit here with any number of policemen and doctors, and they would all tell you that if everybody who had a dependence on alcohol changed their mind and had a dependence on weed, the world would be a much, much easier place to live in.
Would it be? Because, I mean, the recent evidence suggests that it has a direct link to, depression.
Yeah, the direct link between young people.
But given that you're right, and given that...
What I'm saying is that nobody ever came home stoned and beat up their wife,
let me say that there won't be many people in this audience who'll be shocked by the fact you take marijuana. But what they might look at is when you appeared on the South Bank show and lit a spliff. Now, that seems to be...
You have to realise something that actually, this is something about timing, right? And timing has got to be good. Well, what people don't realise is that me puffing away in Madrid, that was filmed before I made an idiot of myself at the beginning of the tour, but it came out after.
I see.
So it was filmed literally days before I did that again.
You're saying that you wouldn't have done it?
And obviously I wouldn't have done it if I'd known I was going to screw up like that again. I would not have done that. But... you know, I'm not going to pretend that my drug of choice is not marijuana, because it is. I don't drink. I very rarely drink. Yes. I've never, ever drunk, and I've never, ever had anything in terms of a breathalyzer test. And believe me, as George Michael, you get more than you would do. You know, you get stopped over the years more than you would do as an ordinary citizen, I think. And I've never tested anything but zero, you know, for alcohol. Yeah. And I'm not going to pretend that this is not the truth. I think I also made the point that it's a terrible drug at certain points in your life, i.e. when you're young and when you have things to achieve. You don't want something that chills you out like that. So it's not like I'm sitting there advocating it for everyone, but I'm not going to pretend in the way that this whole... I mean, the drugs that are going about in society, we don't need to worry about marijuana, you know. And I think for a 43-year-old gay man, who exactly am I supposed to be influencing, you know? Really?
Let's talk about the tour, because it's been going well, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been amazing. Yeah. I mean, you know, when we talked about it last year, it was just an idea, really, that was just taking shape. But it's been the most incredible...
What about Wembley, of course, coming up? Because that is going to be spectacular. I mean, the first time in the new stadium, it's a sensational new stadium. How many people are going to be there? Do you know?
I'm not sure, because obviously the stage
comes out,
takes part of the...
It's going to be a big crowd.
But it's going to be a lot of people, and I'm so proud that I'm going to be opening. It's like my dream come true. Yeah. And last year, when they didn't get it in time, they didn't open it in time, I think it was the second year in a row that they said they were going to finish it. And last year... I think Robbie Williams and the Stones and Bon Jovi were all on tour and wanting to play and stuff. And when I heard that the stadium wasn't ready, little kind of something in my brain went, you could get really lucky, because none of those people will be touring next year, and you might be. So I approached the directors of Multiplex, I think it is, the people that
they
built the stadium. Yeah. And I said, look, I know you guys are fighting against time, but if you want to give me this opening gig, I don't mind when it happens, you know. I'm not going to sue you for being late or anything. I just want to do it when it opens. I want it to be me. And they came down and saw an Earl's Court show, and soon after said yes, I was just... It's a dream. It's a dream come true.
Well, the tickets have sold out for quicker than any other tickets that had ever been sold, and let's have a look maybe why, because let's have a look at some footage from your tour and see what they can expect, those who go to Wembley. Do all the demons go away when you're on stage?
Yes, it's a strange thing. It's the most natural place on earth for me.
Is it?
It really is,
yeah.
You know.
The happiest there.
Yeah, and as ever, you know, if I'd done a rehearsal today with 6 or 7 cameras, I would have been nervous. It's just the way it works. But when I have an audience there, it's the easiest thing in the world for me.
I think the question that a lot of people would ask you is this, that you see that there, you see the adoration, the adulation. you see a very successful young man, a man in his prime, singing there, and a successful songwriter, and they wonder what the problem is.
Well, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. The problem is, in reality, the problem is that we have a very, very inquisitive media, and I seem to kind of meet a lot of different requirements in terms of people's interests.
No, but they see you being unhappy. They see you, being arrested by the police. They see that. That's what the real question.
But that would have to.
What's
that would
the problem,
presume that I'm unhappy, wouldn't it? The fact you can get arrested and you can pass out without being unhappy.
But you can't be happy about that. Can you?
No, I'm not happy about that.
No.
My God, no. No, my God, no. I mean, this year, this last 8 months, I have to say, and not because of the media, but because, I mean, it hasn't helped having people parked outside my house 24 hours a day, but because I felt I'd done something wrong, and yet I was getting very confusing information as to how I should move forward, because you can't really, I suppose you can't test for insomnia or how long someone's been awake or whatever. But I'd done 3 shows in 5 days. I'm 43 years old. I had not performed my own show for 15 years. And I can honestly say this year, at the same time as being exciting, has been the most stressful year of my life professionally.
But I mean, look, at the end of it, no matter what happens, nothing's going to change the situation that you complain about people being outside your house, about the media or anything like that. So you've got to live with it, haven't you?
Well, yeah, only I'm thinking, again, not because of the media, because that's something you just have to learn to live with, but because of the response to other people to this kind of media. I have started thinking for the first time in my life that actually maybe I shouldn't be living here, which is...
Where would you go?
Which is... I think the honest truth is there are places I could live and still be able to visit home where I would not have to worry about this kind of constant surveillance almost. And I've got to think seriously about whether or not my love for my country is really keeping me somewhere which is not good for me,
OK, well, do you ever think about it gets so much on top of you that you think about walking away from it, from the career and everything?
Well, I'll never be able to walk away from what I do creatively. That's a given. I'm going to keep making music. As I've said before, I think a lot of people think because the tour has been so successful that I've changed my mind. But I really am thinking about, this as being a wrapping up of some sorts, and the music I want to make in the future will be for people to come and get for free, And that was the plan 2 years ago. It's still the plan, regardless of things that have happened. And, of course, now there are people that are prepared to pay me for private performances that will pay for those recordings, because the recordings are incredibly expensive. I spend millions, I think I barely made the money back on my last album because I spend so much in recording. But I still want to give that attention and amount of energy to it. But it can be financed by people who make me look poor, really.
I'd like to meet them. OK, well, listen, thanks for coming on the show and talking so frankly about it. And I'll see you at Wembley.
Yeah, I hope so. You're coming along,
I'm coming along, so it'll be great. George Michael.
Thank you.